That's about to get real serious.
We're going to do this? Oh, we getting into it?
Real serious. And I'm going to let you know, right? Meow.
Do we need to wrap our hands?
There's going to be some liquid coming out of my eyeballs.
Or are you prepared? Where's your tissues?
Oh, it's fine. I'm just going to use my shirt.
Oh, mocosa?
You're going to hear.
Yeah. Hey. Well, let's get right into it, Deanne.
And we're back.
Back again and again.
Back to life.
I can't. We can't
Back
sing. We can't sing melodies.
I don't know the rights to that.
You don't get this, right? You always do something that's
I know.
borderline.
I don't know the rights to that song.
No, I don't know. You probably could. But so third installment.
To the saga?
Yeah.
I used that last time.
Yeah, that was just a sequel. What's considered a saga?
Maybe 3. Should I Google it?
No. I think we should just get right into you. I think that's what people paid for.
You wish.
Yeah. Let's roll right into it. Let's go.
Well, I don't know where to ask. Like, where do I start?
I know, right? It's like
Like,
a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, like, how do you even get into that? Like that dude in that documentary that you watched.
Oh,
I don't remember what it's called, but
Alex Honnold, Free Solo, Disney Plus. Gotta watch it.
but it's like it's huge.
Yeah, it's daunting.
That's
It's daunting when you're at the
word.
base of it.
That's a good word.
But once you take it step by step, you know,
Yeah, that's like, okay, so where do I start?
where do we start? So
I guess we could start.
where do we
kind
leave
of-
off, basically?
I don't remember that. It's more so like, we had talked about the issue that I've had for the last 15 plus years, and that kind of opened my eyes to the health issues that my mom dealt with. Mm-hmm. Because mine were totally opposite, the same but opposite, because you can deal with some of the same things, you know, like whatever issue she had going. She was always on a lot of medication growing up. Like, she had like a pill container, you know, like the ones that are separated by days. Like, she had those. Always felt like always on something, not like bad, but like always on some sort of medication. Like,
Yeah.
who knows what it was?
Medicating some symptom.
Yeah, it could have been pain medication or like, you know, something to control, like, I don't know, high blood pressure or low blood pressure or whatever it was. I don't even know specifically. But she had a lot. So growing up, she was always big. She was always big. She struggled as a kid and just gained weight. Mm-hmm. And it was her struggle her whole life. And I don't know that she did very much before actually making an effort to do something about it. Like, I don't recall the prior years that she maybe had tried and tried and failed, you know, and you get to a point where you try and you try and you try and you fail every single time. Of course, you're going to get discouraged and you're not going to do it anymore. And you're just like, whatever, I'm done. Mm-hmm. I'm this way and I'm going to live this way forever.
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever. So I saw that growing up, and you know, I really didn't even see her like overeat, like eat like too much, like where it's like when you watch TV and you watch that show and they just like eat like 3 large pizzas and like a bucket of chicken and like 500 sodas during the day. Like, it wasn't like that.
Yeah,
like, I don't.
When I knew her, it was literally like, you know, it wasn't like just this end food fest.
And you knew her before she started like actually like putting in an effort to try.
Yeah.
But she was always overweight, and it was something that I didn't want to see in myself, which why it led me down the opposite path of, I'm not going to be like that. I don't want that struggle. So I ended up creating my own struggle to combat being that way. And it just turned into, obviously it ended up turning into something that I still struggle with today. It doesn't consume my life, but I still struggle. Just like with anything, anybody struggles. But I saw it, and I didn't say, like, you know, I'm a kid, so I'm not going to say anything. But my sister ended up kind of falling in the same path. as my mom. My sister had some medical issues growing up that she still has to deal with as an adult. But my mom, I think back, because I think like kids are mean, right? Kids are mean. Like they make fun of anything for any reason.
Yep.
And maybe they did, but I don't recall. But I was never like, I don't really felt that I was embarrassed of my mom. Like, of how like big she was. Like, I don't remember ever being embarrassed by her. Like when she would go to events and stuff like that. Like I don't really recall being like, oh my God, Mom, don't go. You know, like I don't remember that.
Yeah.
And if I did, it may have been like once or twice, but like that's it. But she struggled medication just to kind of keep things at bay. You know, like she had type 2 diabetes, which she got later, like not super later in life, but later in life, because she didn't have it before. But when she was, I believe it was when she was pregnant with my sister, she had gestational diabetes, which gives you more prone to get type 2 diabetes. But of course, not always, because diet and exercise and weight control it, and you know, all that stuff. So that one is the one that's you can control.
It's an onset instead of something you're born with, or you know, lies dormant.
Yeah.
It comes to a head because of your dietary choices.
Yeah. So she ended up having to deal with that, which means insulin shots and a machine. And I remember as a kid, we'd always mess around with her machine and use her little thingies to check our sugars and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was always scared, like, because she would have to prick, you know, so fingers would be sore because she would have to prick all the time, like just to check. Yeah. And then she would have to put the like insulin shots in her belly. Like it was serious. Like her health was serious. Like, and I felt like it was serious for all of us, but her for a long time. Not that she didn't care about it, but I don't think that she cared about it, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't like, I'm going to go to the doctor and I'm going to figure out what I need to do. It took years upon years for that to happen. And then she finally, she was still able to do it. She went places and did things, you know, like, I mean, obviously to a certain extent, but she was still present. She was still like,
it wasn't like she was secluded, like, you know, her home was her cave and she wasn't coming out.
She wasn't homebound. She wasn't bedridden. She wasn't any of that. She would still get up, as much as her knee was swollen or her feet were swollen, you know, like, yeah, maybe it took a little bit or whatever, but she was still active in our lives and active in my family's lives, parties and things. She went to church like every Sunday, and it was rare that she wasn't there. Like, she still went out and did stuff like grocery shopping and stuff. Yeah, she may have needed to ride the little cart thingy, but she did it, you know, like she would go out there. And I think a lot of it too was to prove to herself that I can still do it. Like, I also think it was to prove to herself that she could still do it, but also it's not that bad because I can still do it. If that makes sense. Like, I'm still living the lifestyle that I'm living because I'm not bedridden yet. I'm not that bad. The people in that show, I'm not that bad. So I'm going to continue what I'm doing because I'm not that bad. And that's how it almost seems like it was like that, you know, like maybe she just like covered it, you know, like the only thing that's popping in my brain is like, you're covering it because you're trying to, you know, so it's like a piece of shit on the ground and like you're just spraying it with fragrance and then you're going to cover it like, oh, it's not there. There's no problem. Like, it's just, it smells good, you know, like, but it's still there. Yeah. Which is what you can relate to anything in your life. Like any struggles, you cover it, you fragrance it, you,
well, you ignore it. You don't pay it much mind. And then you're like, well, it's not an issue if I'm not worrying about it.
Until something happens. Yeah. And I think, I don't even know what it was like that made her actually like want to do better. And because I never really talked to her about it. It was really just like, okay, we're doing this. We're gonna do it. And I would hope that it would be. She had grandkids. She had 4. So I don't even know if Micah was born yet then when she started the journey to get herself better. I might have been just pregnant or. Because it was a few years. So it might have been right before, maybe as I was pregnant or something. Yeah. But it took her a little while. And she finally decided that she was going to do right by herself, and decided that she was going to have surgery. So she did what she needed to do. And my mom is like me. I'm like my mom, I guess, like picky. So when my mom likes something, she likes something. Like, she doesn't want to try new things. She didn't eat vegetables. Like, she was picky. So with this surgery, they ended up deciding, I guess, that they were going to do the, not the full-on gastric surgery, which is where they like take parts, like your stomach or whatever. I don't know the details, but they take stuff out. Whatever. But they did like a smaller version, like a less scaled version of that. And we were together then, weren't we? Yeah, because that wasn't too long ago.
No. I think it was like 2 years before she did the one that was sticking.
Yeah. So before the surgery, so anyone who has gone through this, my sister included, a few other people that I know, you have to go on this liquid diet, essentially. But I do remember before her going on the diet, she was like balls to the wall. Like, I'm going to eat whatever the fuck I want, however much I want, because I'm not going to be able to do it anymore.
Her own, what's it called? Where the Amish kids get to go out and do their thing, experience, the secular world, and then decide,
like when they turn 18 or something.
Yeah. What's that called? But yeah, basically like go get it out of your system.
And then decide what life you want to live.
Yeah.
So I remember her being like, I don't care, I'm gonna eat it, like, because I'm not gonna get to. And if you knew my mom, there was a lot of things my mom didn't like in life, food-wise. But my mom hated milk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
She hated milk. She, like, would literally gag at the idea of drinking milk. Anything to do with milk. Milk in a recipe, that's different. But like just milk.
Just drinking milk.
She like.
Yeah, I remember her telling me it stemmed from her being in grade school.
Yeah, where if you remember because I remember them, the milk packages, not cartons, like the milk in a bag. I don't remember that. You don't remember those? Mm-mm. I remember those. But anyways, milk in general, where they would force, according to my mom, the school would force my mom to drink milk.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't like milk. And so she hated going to school because they would force her to drink milk at school. And like they literally had my nana and tata would have to like drag her, whoever had to drag her out because she didn't want to go. So she hated milk. So this liquid diet consists of milkshakes and thick ass milkshakes, where I remember being at my mom's house, and I'm sure you were there too, where she's sitting over the sink crying with her hands plugging her nose, trying to do her best to get these milkshakes down.
Yeah, because for most people, like, that's the route to go, because milk is pretty thick, so it can hide a bunch of different ingredients, and then it's usually sweetened, like a chocolate milk or something like that, so it hides like the taste of the extra stuff that you're putting in there, for the nutrients. So it's meant to be more enjoyable for 99% of the people, but your mom was one of those people that just did not like milk.
But then also more sustainable because it is thicker, it holds stuff, so that's why they do that.
And milk is fatty generally. I mean, if you're getting 2%, but yeah.
Yeah, she struggled hardcore. And I remember that was the second time around though, when we got in that big fight, huh? That was the second time around, not the first time. So she did it. She got through it. Yeah. She struggled, but it showed her commitment to doing what
finally making the change.
Yeah, doing what she was doing. So she ended up going and getting the procedure. And I truly don't remember the recovery or anything after. Like, I don't remember like how it was. I just remember the before, because the before was so dramatic. Like, she made such a big deal out of that. And I get it, because if I had to eat something that I didn't like or drink something that I didn't like, it would obviously, I would be a bitch and like just like like it's just negative all the time, because that's what you have. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you have these nasty ass milkshakes, and you're like, fuck life, fuck you, and you yell at everybody because you just don't give a shit because you're hungry and you have to eat this nasty ass shit. So like, she was just mad all of the time.
And
So I remember I always talked to her. I'm sure I mentioned that maybe the last time, but like my mom was someone that I talked to all of the time. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say that, like that I talk to my mom a lot.
Yeah.
So going through this, you know, she would call me like, oh my God. And then I would call her like, oh my God, like, did you drink it? Okay, good. You know, like how much did you keep it down? Because it's like every time she took a little sip, she's gagging. And I'm like, okay, you need to calm down a little bit. Like, stop being so dramatic. Just get it down. But so she did it. She got through the procedure. Everything was fine. And we thought everything was fine. Like, you know, like her, but I don't recall ever seeing a difference, like ever seeing a noticeable change in her. But I do remember, let's taking it back a bit, before she had that first procedure, when she lived in that house, when my family lived in that house in Mesa on Grand, I remember, so going into the house, if you can recall, it's a small little house, right? And we would always go through the side door. We never went through the front door. And there was one night, and I think it was either the night before or a couple nights before her procedure, the very first one, where she was walking in and she fell. Walking in to the house. Like she tripped or whatever because there was a step. And I'm not sure if I was the only one there or who was there, but I know obviously I was there.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
And I think this was the huge motivator for her because she couldn't get up.
Yeah. You had to call like,
we had to call
a few
people to help, like my tío, my cousin, like, I mean, they didn't live very far, but we had to call them. And my mom cried because she was so embarrassed. And like, that's so sad that, you know, like you can't get up. Like you have to have some sort of help. And it didn't help. Obviously the weight didn't help, but it also didn't help that my mom had bad knees, swollen ankles, like all the time, you know, like it didn't help, but she was so embarrassed. And I think that was a motivator for her too. Like, yeah, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to rely on people. Like, I don't want this. So, but I don't recall seeing a difference. And I don't know if you can, maybe others did, but I don't recall seeing a change in her the first time around.
Yeah, I don't think so. Which I think is why it led to the second procedure.
So pretty much life was exactly the same. I felt like life was exactly the same. So then she decided to go through the second procedure, which was it the full on? I don't remember, but it was a second procedure to kind of.
It was a little bit more serious.
Maybe it was the full gastric.
Yeah, they were requiring prerequisite markers for her to hit, goals for her to attain, you know, to show them that okay, you're serious about this because you're doing some things on your own.
Yeah. And I felt more invested in this one too. We obviously you too, because when she decided to go through the second one, it cost a lot of money. It cost money, and that's the reason why I was so aggressive with her as I was when it came to doing her milkshakes and taking her vitamins and doing what she was supposed to do food wise, because my investment is because I paid for it. I paid for that procedure for her to have. I put it on my credit card under the condition that she does what she needs to do and she pays me back. This is a loan. No interest, because, you know, I'm her daughter and I'm kind. No interest. But you're going to pay me back. I'm going to pay for the surgery. I'm going to pay for the vitamins that you're going to get after. I'll pay for the milkshake. Like we paid for everything. Put it on the credit card. I couldn't even tell you how much I know it was probably close to $2,000, if not more than that.
Yeah, easy.
And we did that. So that's why I was so committed to keeping her on track.
And she needed that.
Because almost like when you watch that show, you have people who, what's the word?
You have to be accountable to.
But no, not that. They enable them.
Enablers.
Yeah. So my mom is up here. She's, you know, my nana passed away a long time ago. My mom kind of took the reins of being the matriarch of the family. She was the oldest. So not a lot of people really said no to her. So it was like, if Nancy wants it, Nancy gets it, you know, like kind of that attitude, you know, like, and maybe some people did, and I didn't see it, like, or, you know, like it's their own kind of relationship, you know, but for me, I was the person with my mom that no, absolutely not. I'm not going to get that for you. Or no, you're not going to eat that. Or when she's serving herself a second plate, are you sure you need that? Because it looked like you served yourself enough the first time. Like, I'm the one who's watching, not to be nitpicky or to be extra. It was to keep her on track. And half of it, and I wouldn't even say half. I would say like a 70-30 kind of deal. 70% was because I want to make sure that she's healthy and I want to make sure that she lived forever and was there to watch my kids walk down the aisle. I wanted her to be there. But then 30% is, I have money in this. Like, any person is going to be serious about their money. Like, I'm not the richest person in the world. I'm not even fucking close to that. Like, I'm as middle class as they get. So I had a financial interest in her getting healthy. So of course, it's about the milkshakes and did you take them and what time did you take it and what did you do and what are we doing here? Like, almost like a log. Keep me informed literally on everything because it's double at this point.
Yeah.
And so obviously that bothered her because she felt like I was, I don't even remember what started the fight. Like, I think it was probably the last fight that we had.
Yeah. But it's understandable for her to, to get to not to get to the point, but just to have to rely on another person, an individual for that, like a monetary, a financial thing. Was. Yeah. That, there's a little bit where you have to like really like open yourself up and become vulnerable. And what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it takes a lot and you feel less than to an extent.
You feel less than because you're asking somebody for money.
Yeah.
And
which again, it's your mom and you're like, hey, like I want this for you too. You know?
That's the whole reason. I would never, it depends on the circumstances and who it is. But for the most part, I'm not going to go ahead and charge $2,500 on my credit card. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, for the neighbor 3 doors down.
Right? Like, that's not, it's just not how it's going to work. But my mom felt that I was holding it over her head that I paid for this, which I wasn't. But I used that as a tool
as a little chip. Yeah.
Listen, like, I have just as much interest in this as you do. Obviously it's her health and it's her life.
Yeah.
But it's like, come on now. Like, you're doing it. You should be doing it not to pay me back.
Yeah.
You should do it because you want to see your grandkids walk down the aisle. You want to see, everything. So we, at that point, that was right around, that was summer. I think it was right around summer when she got that second procedure in 2019 or 2018, 2018. It was in the summer. It was recent.
Because that was December. It was really that recent?
It was recent. The surgery.
Because she lost that much weight that fast?
Oh, maybe it was a year then. Maybe it was 2017.
I don't know.
Maybe it was 2017.
Because your sister was ramping up to get that same procedure as well shortly after. Because your mom was having such good success with it.
Why can't I recall what year she had it? It might have been 2017.
Yeah.
I literally, it's passing my brain. So it might have been 2017, and whoever's listening, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just truly don't remember. But she got on it. She did what she needed to do. And, everything was fine with it. It went well. I remember, her having the procedure and stuff like that. And we just spent, we spent so much time with her, with them, with my parents and my sister and, my niece and nephew. We just spent so much time. We were just talking about it earlier, how we literally were at my mom's house 3 or 4 times a week. We were there all the time, Sunday dinners.
It's Nana's house.
And we would go there during the week on Tuesday and Thursday or whenever during the week, almost every day during the week.
Yeah, it was twice during the week at least. And then Sundays.
Sometimes on Saturdays if something was going on, whatever.
Yeah.
And before getting into super, super intense details, one of the last really, really good memories that I have of my mom was, my nephew's birthday. And that was in September.
Yeah.
And we had a party, a big ass party at my mom's house. They had a water slide and all kinds of stuff. Like, it was fun. Like, there was so many people there. Like, it was a lot of people and good food. Yeah. There was homemade food. There was pizza. There was chicken. There was like all kinds of stuff.
There was friends that you hadn't seen in a while there too. Like a few people, I know at least two girls from like your grade school or friends of friends that you hadn't seen in a long time were there too. Like, it was a big party.
Yeah, and like we always have big parties. Like, that's just how it turned out. But my last memory, my last real good memory of my mom. Like, I always have a bunch of memories, but I remember obviously our kids were there. You showed up after the fact because you were at work, and I was obviously I was drinking. So I'm drinking. Everyone else is drinking. We're having a good time. Music, blah 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 blah. So it's getting late. Well, the kids have bedtime. You take the kids home. I'm like, I'm going to stay. I'll come home tomorrow or, whatever. So I remember my mom sitting in the corner on her like rocking chair or whatever. And I like sat on the arm and like she kind of cradled me like a baby, like held me and like was rocking back and forth, like rocking me like a baby. And I ended up falling asleep. I ended up being asleep. And so they ended up, well, I don't even know who it was, my Theo and, or maybe my dad and my Theo or whoever took me to the bed, and they took me to my mom's bed. And then, so I wake up in my mom's bed, sleeping next to my mom. And I was like, what happened? Like, so then I get up all early. And I'm pretty sure it was like 5 or 6 o'clock or whenever it was, because I know it was dark when I was driving home. But I woke up and my mom had sleep apnea too. So she had like a machine. So she heard me getting out of the bed and like, still like, I had my clothes on, my shoes were right there, my phone, like everything was like right there. So I was like grabbing stuff. And then my mom takes off her mask and sits up and, I hug her and kiss her goodbye, whatever. And she's all, thanks for the sleepover, mija. And I was like, that was so funny, because I'm like, I don't recall ever a moment in life that I ever slept in the same bed with my mom. Like,
oh, really?
So I'm like 29 sleeping in the bed with my mom. Like, it was just so funny. Like, it was a funny memory, because I'm pretty sure my tia ended up getting a video of them carrying me to the broom. Yeah.
To the broom?
To the room. But no, that was my last really, really good memory of my mom. And that was in September. So it's just a few months before. But I don't know where to go from here. When she started.
I mean, one of the last good memories was you cooking. You cooked some food, and it was her last real meal that she ate. Yeah. That wasn't like some hospital like mush. That was that sustenance came from you, and she tore that shit apart.
She
critiqued it.
Oh my God.
She critiqued it.
So I think, I don't know if I know people probably brought her food and stuff like that, but and obviously hospital food, but the last 2 meals that I was able to serve my mom was one Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And it was my very first turkey that I made by myself, because my mom would be the one to do it all of the time. We always went to Thanksgiving at my mom's. So it was a full on Thanksgiving dinner. Like, I slaved away in that kitchen for hours upon hours. Probably I got 25,000 steps in one day just going back and forth from the sink to the kitchen. Like, that's how serious it was. But I remember my nephew and I went to the hospital later in the evening to go take my mom some food. So took her that. It was like mashed potatoes and gravy and turkey and whatnot. But later on a couple weeks later, I ended up making tamales. And I've made tamales before. This was like my 4th year, not consecutively, but making them. Speaking of tamales, we got your Nana's tamales.
Oh yeah, my Nana's tamales. My Nana R.I.P. passed away 2-3 months ago, so I had to resurrect those from the freezer. Yeah. No,
it wasn't 2 or 3 months ago. It was in January, so 2 months ago.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
So I made tamales, and I remember the ingredients, but and I'm going to go ahead and, because I'm sure other cultures are like this, but Mexicans ain't got no freaking cookbooks. There's no a little teaspoon of this and a little tablespoon of that. It's just like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, yeah, just go with it, And that's how I cook. When I'm cooking my own stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, just a little bit. Oh, okay, maybe a little bit more. Like, when I had a friend over trying to teach her how to cook, because she don't know how to cook, and I'm like, okay, add a little bit of salt to that, and she's like, how much? And I'm like, I don't know, just a little bit. Like, yeah. I don't know. Like, that's how I cook, because that's how I was taught too. Like, watching and, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
So I
go
know
go off a feel, you know, it's like
and like aroma.
it's like a jam. It's like a jam musician, like a jazz musician versus like a studio musician. Like the studio musician
Did you
needs like,
just say jam?
yeah, jam.
Oh,
like a jam.
like a jam session?
Yeah, like a jam
okay.
session.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Where it's like the studio guys, like they need music in front of them. Like, what am I playing? What are you doing? You can't just tell them to come in and be like, hey, just kind of like play along and improvise. It's like, what? Like, no, I'm very rudimentary. Like, I need it laid out for me versus like you're explaining like the Mexican style of, or, you know, the very ethnic basis. It's like, just throw some in there, you know, and it's like
then it's also
you're improvising.
When I'm cooking, I'm leaning over it and I'm like, okay, let me get the smell. Like, let me get the, what does it smell like? Like, okay. And then I also do like,
well, you got to taste it.
Yeah, I taste it too. So I'm not sure, like I know how to make the tamales, but then it's also like, I've always, every year, video chat my mom, like literally video chat her where I'm like, okay, Mom, do you see what I'm doing? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Tell me when to stop. Like, so she's watching my pour and she's like, okay, there, stop. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like she said, stop. So, and then sometimes I'll be like, okay, just a little bit more for good measure, just in case she wasn't fully watching, you know, like whatever. So I made tamales that year. My mom was already sick in the hospital, you know, like, so I'm making tamales and she knew this, she was still coherent, you know? So I made them and, cooked them, like everything. So I was like, cool. And then she was like, you're going to bring me one, right? Like, you're going to bring me some. So I was like, yeah. So I remember it was a Monday. And I brought the tamales with me to work. And I knew that I was going to go to work after, or to the hospital right after work. So I warm up the tamale before I leave work and I wrap it in a napkin, put it in the baggie so it could stay warm. I take it to the hospital. I see her. She's still coherent. She's talking or whatever. She opens it and it's like you can eat it like a burrito, you know, like it's the masa's holding, like it looks legit. Like I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Presentation, 10 out of 10. Like we're good. So she takes a bite, she tears into it, and she proceeds to tell me that my masa needs more salt.
Hey, if your food tastes like it's missing anything, 90% of the time it's salt. Just add some more salt and we're good.
So I needed more salt. My masa needed more chili powder, and she's like, the meat's good. And then of course the olives she didn't like. I ate it because she didn't like cooked olives, but so yeah, she was like, the meat is good, but the masa needed work. And so I was like, okay, now it's in the vault. Like I remember. So then
which is good too, that she was like, hey, this needs more chili powder, because your mom thought pepperoni was spicy. Yeah, she's Hispanic and she would make salsa all the time, and she makes some hot stuff, but she would never eat it.
Nope.
Because, you know, pepperoni
was hot
for her. Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. Like she would take the pepperoni off so much that like all of the cheese would come off, and then it's essentially just sauce and like
sauce and soft bread.
I was like a crust or like whatever, you know, whatever it's called, the dough. But yeah, she criticized the shit out of my tamales, and like I was like, damn, Mom, like I mean, can you say it's good, like something? So that was a Monday.
Well, good thing you were in the hospital for the burn unit was there.
Right? That was a Monday, and 6 days later, I lost her.
Rewind. Let's take it back.
Okay, rewind. I'm just saying the from my, I guess you were saying my last good memory of her, my last funny memory, and then not so long after. So rewind. Go ahead. Do you?
So we get the news that your mom had to take an ambulance, right?
It was a Wednesday morning.
Your mom...
I think it was a Wednesday morning. Or was it a Thursday morning?
I think it was a Wednesday morning. No, Wednesday night. Something happened Thursday morning. Yeah, she got admitted.
So I'm on my way to the hospital.
Yeah, because Thanksgiving was a week. She was there for a week once Thanksgiving came around.
So I'm on my way to work.
Yeah.
And my nephew calls me. And he's like, Thea, the ambulance paramedics are here. We got to take Nana to the hospital. And I was like, what happened? And he was like, like she's awake. I don't remember specifically the words he used, but she's awake, but she's like not responding. Like they're here, they're gonna take her. And I was like, okay. So I don't really know much at this point. I'm just kind of like, whatever. I'm gonna go. So I get to work, I tell my boss, and then I go. And of course she's admitted, and it's just triage at this point, you know, like they're trying to just figure out what's going on with her. Like she's awake, but not responsive, like not answering questions. Like, it's just kind of like, you don't know what's going on. Like, well, something had to have happened. So it takes like forever, like all day out. And then finally, you know, for however long, I don't even remember specifics, but it's like, they were going to admit her. So it turned out she did have an infection. At first, it initially thought that the reason, like the main culprit, I guess, for whatever was going on with her was a UTI, which isn't correct. She did have a UTI, but it's not the root cause of things that had happened with her. So, but prior to that, let's go ahead and rewind a little bit prior to that. The last 2-3 weeks that we had gone to my mom's house for dinners throughout the week or even on the weekends, she was always she kind of was a little slower in her movements. Like she walked a little slower. And she was also very, very sleepy and very, very cold.
Yeah.
She always sat in her chair with a blanket over her and would sleep while we were all there. Kids running around being loud, and she would be sleeping. Mm-hmm. She would fall asleep with you talking to her. Mm-hmm. That's how serious her situation was.
Yeah.
And
in hindsight, obviously it's 2020. It's like, how did we not see it? And I noticed it, and I did say something, but I always felt like I was preaching because I was on the healthy, you know, path journey. You know, I had lost 60, 70 pounds, and I'm eating right. I'm you know, exercising all the time. And I always felt like I was preaching, you know, where it's like, oh, these people don't, you know, you don't want to hear this. You don't want to continue hearing that, oh, you're doing it wrong, and be pointed out. So like,
or you're
holding
like,
my tongue. I'm like holding my tongue because I don't want to be perceived like, oh, well, you're better because, you know, you're doing this. But it was like, I would notice like you can't, like, you're constantly cold. And this was like, I mean, it's November, but it's Arizona, you know, it's not cold. It's not cold.
It's not cold enough where you're shivering and then you have to have a blanket on. Like she would have like hospital socks on, like the thick ass socks, like socks on and just covered with a blanket. But I do remember that. Yeah. So her being in there doing diagnostic, all kinds of stuff, you know, whatever. So they finally do like scans and stuff, and they get her admitted, and they ended up admitting her to the Mesa Hospital, which is a prominent stroke hospital.
Yeah, because they were like, she had a stroke.
Yeah.
And they come to find out that they're like, she had multiple strokes.
Yeah.
And we don't even know how many.
Yeah. So turns out they admit her, continuously running tests and stuff like that to kind of figure out exactly what's going on, blood work and whatever. And so they admit her to the 4th floor of the hospital, and that's the stroke ward. The stroke ward. So we find out a day or so later that she in fact did have a stroke. And what was more serious about that was that she had multiple, as you stated, but not only multiple, but it was in both hemispheres of her brain. So that literally affects everything. Speech and coordination, you know, like it's everything. So the plan was kind of like, let's figure out how serious this is if we can. But they did say that they really didn't know how many she had. They didn't know how serious they were, how much it affected her. So talk was, because she was awake, she talked. She could answer questions at the point that they moved her, and everything kind of died down. Yeah. She was responding.
Yeah.
They still had her on her machines for her apnea, her sleep apnea, eating, you know, like stuff like that, visitors and whatever. But I remember she did have like an infection and they didn't know anything about it. So going into the hospital to visit, we had to literally suit up to go in there, like full on mask, like everything, gloves, like that's how it had to be to go in there. So for a little while, because it was 2 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks, maybe that she was in the hospital total.
Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So for literally almost the whole time, my sister and I and my dad had decided to try to not eliminate visitors, but keep control of limit them, not keep control, because that's wrong, but like limit, because of the nature of her condition.
Not only the nature, but people forget you need to rest and recover. Like that's what you need most of all. Like, hospitals should get nurses on a certain like plan to figure out like what the person's like resting schedule is, and not interfere with that. Because no matter all this good that you're doing and providing this service, if you're having to keep interrupt like a good sleep,
and they already interrupt because they have to go in there and poke and prod and blah blah blah, and then you got people all hours during the day to come in. So it came to a point where we had to ask the nurses, and my sister and I and my dad had come to an agreement, like, if you are visiting this patient in this room, the sign on the door said you need to see the nurses station before you come in this room to see that it was okay or whatever. And it was because of that. It was to make sure that she got the rest that she needed, because her body was fighting hard. Yeah. Hard. So she was going through all kinds of stuff. And I swear, like, I freaking became like an intern at this point, like, because I ended up finding out that, obviously when she went into the hospital, that my mom had made me her MPOA, her medical power of attorney, 10, 11 years ago. She signed a document, had it notarized. I am her medical power of attorney. So that essentially means that I'm making decisions. Questions are coming to me for answers.
And she trusted you with that. So
she trusted me with that 11 years ago when I'm 20 years old. 19 or 20 is when she signed this document. And it's still legal. It's still valid. It's still upheld in the court. She trusted me to make these decisions for her. For whenever she thought something was about to hit the fan, she wanted me to be the one to make those decisions. So everything came to me. Doctors knew. They're looking at a chart. Oh, I need to call her daughter. Oh, I need to call Gabby. This is her number. They called me for everything. Whenever she was about to go through a procedure, they called me. Can we do this? Is it okay? This is what it's going to be. This is when we're going to do it. Or is it, like, I need to sign for something or whatever it was. Everything filtered through me. So my life for those 2 weeks was fucking hell. Obviously my mom's life was hell, but like, to be the one to know the ins and outs of everything that's going on. But not only that, it's my family is the closest family that you'd ever, like, we're so fucking close. And to have this go on and I'm the one providing information, it's difficult. So I'm trying to get the information, process it, understand it, and then relay it to people so they can then understand, and then me be able to field questions like, okay, this is what this means. This is what this means. And I felt like I did pretty decent when I was responding. Like when I would send group messages to like everybody, I would, okay, this is the procedure that she's having. This is what it does. This is what it's trying to find out. Like this, like, Yeah. So
limit the replies. With
answer it all up front, like getting it all out. So, but being that she was still awake and coherent at times. So there was a moment when she was in the hospital and they're like running tests and I'm visiting and whatnot, that I find out after the fact that my mom was awake and that my mom had agreed to a surgery. And I'm like, what? Like they called me after, because I think I had called for an update and they were like, oh, she's in surgery. And I was like, what the fuck for? And then I find out that they went to and so then I got upset with the hospital and I'm talking to whoever I needed to talk to. Like, no, I don't give a shit how fucking awake she is. I'm her medical power of attorney. I come to me, because one minute she's coherent and then the next she's not. So talk to me. So she ended up agreeing, which is totally fine. It ended up being fine because she needed it. But they ended up, so they were doing obviously all kinds of tests and whatnot on her. And turns out her knee was causing a lot of problems. And she's always had issues with her knees, like cartilage. It's like bone on bone. Cartilage is gone. Like we had already talked, my mom and I, years ago, that once she's lost all the weight that she's needed to lose, she needs full knee replacements, like both knees. Like her knees were shot, like almost like, you know what I think? Like when you're like a bus driver for like 50 years and you're just constant, like your knee, like it's just gone, like it's gone. So they ended up finding an infection and they had to drain her knee. I don't recall what knee it was. So but they had to drain her knee. But that's the surgery that she agreed to. So after I yelled at the hospital for allowing her to approve this surgery, I yelled at my mom. And I was like, don't do that. I don't know what's going on if you're out here approving things, and I don't know, because if that's going to affect something else that needs more important that needs to happen, like I just need to be kept in the loop. I would have agreed to it anyways, but just tell me. Like I need to know.
You're already fielding all these life and it's literally life and death.
Yeah.
Like, so it's an honor to be somebody's MPA, but it's MPOA, but it's, I don't think you have to abbreviate the of.
You do.
No.
Okay. When you say POA.
No, I said MPA.
I know, but M, it's literally just an M. So when you're talking to somebody, you say, I need a POA. At work, I say POA, power of attorney.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You gotta do the A. But when you're just literally putting one word in front of the POA, you still need the POA. You still need the O.
It's because 3 abbreviations is much easier than 4-letter abbreviations. Anyways, this is far off the topic.
Whatever. I don't agree with that, but okay, let's moving on.
But yeah, it's an honor to be somebody's, be that for somebody that's like, wow, you trust me in that. But it is a burden. A burden for sure. It's a lot of stress. You're having to make life and death decisions on the daily. And
I have a notebook of all of the times that I talked to the doctors, every doctor that I talked to, the time that I talked to them, what doctor I talked to, what department they were in, what they did to her. I called every day for updates in the morning. There was like a specific nurse that I like to talk to. But every day I called for an update because I didn't go visit every day. I couldn't go visit every day. I got a job and I got kids. So it's like, it's hard. It was hard for me to go visit every day. But I went when I could, and it was at least every other day or whenever. So I called, and not that it was more important for me to call and get information, but it kept me informed on her status, like what was going on. I called in the morning, and I'm like,
I'm going to pull up that post that you want to cite.
Okay.
Right now, so I don't forget about it. I just remembered, so.
No, I could do it too. So I called and I got information like, okay, what's her stats today? What's her blood pressure? How is she feeling? Has she said anything today? Like I'm like, they know me. When I call, they knew me. They knew who I was calling about. They didn't even have to ask for a room, nothing. Like it's almost like when I call daycare and I'm like, hi, it's Gabby. They know me. Like they know me.
Yeah. For sure.
It's almost too like when you go to a certain place so many times they don't card you no more because they know you. Like they're like, oh hey girl, hey, how are the kids? Like,
hey girl, hey.
Like that. So then I thought at one point I think we thought that she was turning a corner.
It really felt like that. Yeah.
To be better, to be because so they wanted to do. We were trying to do a couple things to try to figure out what was going on. We ended up finding out that she had an infection in her blood.
Yeah.
And they were trying to localize it. Initially, I guess they thought that it was from the UTI, which I don't know if that's even possible. But they ended up finding out through the procedure that she had approved on her knee that the infection was coming from her knee. The infection had then spread past the knee and into her bloodstream, which at this point, it's almost like you got to catch it early or it's too late. And I can't think of the words because I'd have to look at the notebook of some of the terms that they had used. But so they ended up finding that out. And it almost kind of, once that procedure happened, I felt like every day after that got a little worse. Like every day just got a little bit worse.
Well, I think because they threw, once they found out that she had the blood infection, she got thrown on a heavy antibiotic.
Was it
which the UTI had already kind of compromised her kidneys, and now you're throwing a heavy antibiotic in there.
Correct. So I remember reaching out to my nurse friend, and she explained, obviously you can Google it, but she explained the real effects of this medication. It fucks you up.
Well, any antibiotic you want to avoid.
No, for sure. But this one is so fucking strong that, again, I don't remember the story. All I remember is her my friend telling me that a healthy young kid goes in there with a problem and they give him this antibiotic, and then next thing you know, he's in kidney failure. That's how bad it is. Yeah. So when you're giving this medication to a person who's already compromised, of course it's going to make it worse. So, but I think that was a little like fast forward, because they ended up doing some other procedures to her. I forget what it's called, but they were trying to put a camera down her throat. And check like her heart and stuff like that, like because of the infection. So they wanted to check the heart, and they tried to do it once and it didn't work out because she was what's the word I'm looking for medically? I can't think of it. Like she was
not coherent enough. What are you saying? Like
not necessarily coherent enough, but there's a word that I'm looking for and it's passing my brain. I can't think of it.
Because if you put her under, if you intubate, is that what you're talking about? Like when they intubate?
No, where like she just physically can't, like her heart's racing and she's just like like agitated and she's
tachycardia.
Whatever the word is, like I don't know, but she didn't allow them to do they just couldn't do it. So I think that also delayed it. I think that also made when they actually did it, it had gotten worse than if they had initially done it when they were supposed to, because they told me we're going to do this procedure on this day and this time. Cool. And then when I called, they were like, oh, actually we couldn't because, for whatever reason they described, like she, not cardiac arrest. That's not the word I'm looking for. Some sort of distress. She was in some sort of distress. She couldn't do it. And so
she wasn't stable enough for the procedure.
Yes. So like obviously things in between everything going on, but jumping towards like the last week that she was there. So I saw her on Monday, which is when I gave her the tamale that she criticized the shit out of. And then I went back because my mom and I had discussed, I was also handling her finances. On top of being her medical power of attorney, I was also handling her finances. Yeah. So I had her wallet. I had all her credit cards. I had all her passwords to everything. I had everything.
And not only like her finances, but the household's finances, because your mom handled everything.
Yes.
Electricity, internet, rent. Like you couldn't go to anybody else that was living with her and ask them, what was going on, because they had no clue, because mom always handled it. So we had to do a little bit of investigating and digging. So we're calling, we're having to redo passwords. We're letting them know that the issues that we're encountering and that we're now handling that side of it. And again, it's like, it's the end of November. Rent's coming up in December. Like how do you guys pay it? Where does it go? How's this done? And so not only are you handling the medical side of it, but you're also handling the financial side of it.
Yeah, which is we'll get into that. But so the last week that she was there, I saw her on a Monday, and then I was like, okay, I didn't go on Tuesday, but I talked to her and I said, I'm gonna go tomorrow. My Wednesdays were half days, so I got off of work at 11. And so then we had talked, and I'm going to go to the hospital and we're going to talk finances. I'm going to get some more information from you, because she was coherent. Like she seemed like good. Okay. Like I'll give you information. Like, I'll be able to give you information. So I show up on Wednesday, and her door is open, and there's like a bunch of people in there, nurses and whatnot. And she's on so before she was on a CPAP machine, which is like the smaller one, you know, like whatever. And I'm pretty sure this is what it's called, because this is what I've always said. So correct me if I'm wrong. A BPAP machine, which is larger, maybe a little bit more intense, or like whatever. She was having some issues because when I walked in that room, she was on a machine, and the look in her eyes was just like, I'm scared. Because she couldn't talk. At that point, she couldn't talk. So she had this machine, and it's like helping her. Like it was so loud. Like I remember this machine was so loud. So, but she has this machine, and it's on her face, and she's just staring at me. And I'm just like, what is going on? And so I'm trying to find nurses, like who's on this case, whatever. And there was a doctor there, and they were like, so we tried to do the procedure again, that procedure that they were trying to do before. They tried to do it again, but they couldn't, because now she's in respiratory distress and she can't breathe, and she's having issues and blah, 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 blah. They're just like throwing shit at me. And I'm just like, I don't know what to think. I don't know. And so they're like, we're moving her to the ICU. And I'm like, okay, like, let's go. Like, so they had already been kind of getting her shit together, like packing her up, hooking machines and whatnot to take her. And so then I'm there, and I'm packing all of her shit, you know, like the flowers and the stuff that's there, like all her stuff, like getting it to go. And so I pack her stuff, get it. We're like walking down the hall, and we get to the elevator, and we go to ICU. And at this point, you know, I'm telling my family all these things, and my family, as much as this was hard for all of us, they are the definition of, like, I'm trying to even think like of a good word, just a word, but they are the definition of ride or die.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Like, you call, they're there. Mm-hmm. You need something, they're there. And I say they, meaning including me in there too, you know, like they're there. They are there no matter what. And this was trying for all of us. And they send her to the ICU, and we're all there. And there was a little bit of I don't know what the word, strife, a little bit of
turmoil,
yeah, a little bit of,
I mean, to describe your mom on who she is, your grandma passed away when, you know, your mom was what, 31, 32,
somewhere
young.
around there, right around the same age.
56 is when she passed, right?
50. My nana was 58, I believe.
And your mom filled her role. So not only is your mom like a cool tia, you know, aunt, sister, you know, who she was, like a great person, but she was the matriarch of the family. Yeah. She became the nana, the one that everybody goes to, the one that everybody leans on. So yeah, it's not just the regular family member.
No, and my tia, my mom's youngest sister, mm-hmm. was really young when their mom died. So she looked towards my mom as a mom.
Yeah.
And so I'm over here trying to like make the best possible decisions that I can. And of course, not everybody agrees. Yeah. Not everybody's gonna be on the same page as me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so there was, which I'm honestly grateful for too, because it also helps us grow and helps us like, understand each other maybe a little bit better. Like, this is why you did what you did. And I get it, you know, like whatever. So it's like, you know, when I had sent that message out to them saying, this is what's going on, immediately, well, why? What's going? And it's like, I don't know a lot yet. Like, I don't know a lot, but what I do know from professionals is that we need to limit the amount of people that visit her. So, and the reason why I had said that was because when they're moving her to the ICU and she's in respiratory distress, what they did to her was they needed to sedate her and put her in a medically induced coma and also intubate her. So not only do I have to hear all of these things that they're needing to do to my mom, I need to sign that paper. I need to be like, you know what? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and do that. You know, like, go ahead and intubate my mom. Go ahead and sedate her. Go ahead and put a central line to give her all of the stuff, all those stuff that she needs, you know? Like, so obviously people were not happy because I feel like maybe it could have been worded differently, but I feel like it almost made it seem like I was preventing people from seeing her, which I absolutely was not doing. I was trying to make it more easier, A, for them to work on her when they needed to work on her, and B, while your body is resting, your mind is not. So when you go in there and you touch her, her mind's going. When you go in there and you talk to her, her mind is going. And they needed that to shut down, not shut down, like to rest. It needed to rest because her body and her brain needed to focus
on the fight of her life,
on healing her body. Yeah. So that's where all of the, I don't want to say issues, but that's kind of where it arised from. So we had this like literally like this whole family, like my family took up like more than half of the damn waiting room, you know, but what was good is that we worked through our issues with each other. We worked through it and we figured it out. We understood and we got to the point where it was like, okay, like we get it. We're all on the same page now. So the decisions that were being made from that point on, not only I'm her medical power of attorney. So essentially I could make whatever decision. You know what? Just go ahead and just end it now. You know what? No, we're not going to. No. So I included not only my sister, my dad, but my two tias and my tío in the decision making. When it came to the very end, when I'm like, okay, let's talk, it was all of us.
Yeah.
Let's make this decision together because it's not just me. It's not, you know. So they take her and they intubate her, they sedate her. We ended up finding out that because of her kidneys, she needs dialysis. So they put her on a dialysis machine, which means she needed another port to do the dialysis. So not only does she have a central line, she's got another port to do the dialysis, but not only that, she's got it like an A line in her arm where they're putting medication and whatever, you know, like, so we're able to go see her and it was a lot better. I mean, obviously ICU isn't good, but ICU is good in the sense that on a regular floor, it's like 4-1. You got like, 4-1. So you got 4 patients and 1 nurse, but in the ICU, it's 2-1. You only got 2 patients and you got 1 nurse. Yeah. And you're split in between the two. So it's just so much
more focused,
better care. Yeah. And so she's there and, you know, we're trying to get everybody in to see her. And there's probably a lot that I'm missing because it was like a lot. But I'm talking to the doctors and I'm talking to the nurses and she's just kind of there, you know, like, and then I think that was Wednesday. So we're there Wednesday, Thursday. It's kind of like the same. So we get into Friday and, I get a call that I need to go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital and, I'm talking to the doctor. So being that she's intubated, it was a lot easier because she didn't fight them for them to do the procedure they tried to do 2 other times. So they finally did the procedure. It's called like a trach something, like, cause it's down the throat. So like, something
tracheotomy,
something along those lines. But so they did the procedure and the doctor was like there and he had his, like, you know, like they take the computer with them, you know, like, so it was like one of those things. So he's in the room and he's showing me, like, he's literally doing it, like he's in the middle of the procedure and he brings me into the room. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, or it was a video. Like, I swear he was still doing the procedure. And he proceeds to tell me that it's her heart.
Because she had gone septic, the infection.
So we found out that she had been septic. So the infection infected her blood so much that it turned septic. And he's showing me her heart, and her heart's like just trying. Like it's trying. So what he tells me is that one of the valves in her heart is not working properly. And so basically your heart is, pumping the blood and whatnot. So it's pumping out, and like the valve's closed. Like it's sending out good stuff.
Yeah.
So she's septic. Her whole blood is infected. So the heart's trying to send out good stuff, and the valve opens to get it out, but the valve's not closing properly. So
there's
the
a
bad
growth
stuff
because of the infection. There was a growth on the valve
coming back in. So her heart was just compromised, and essentially they could have fixed it. They could have fixed the valve, got her healthy, but she was not a candidate at all whatsoever for surgery. Her weight contributed to that. The fact that she was already septic contributed to that. The fact that she wasn't stable contributed to that. Like, every reason in the book for someone not to be a candidate for surgery, I swear she had it. Like,
yeah, well, because I remember it was we can't do the heart surgery because her kidneys aren't stable enough, and they can't do anything about the kidneys because the heart was so bad. So it was a catch-22. And
so she's on the dialysis machine, and there's two different kinds, I think. Maybe there's more, but the two kinds that they referred to me was the dialysis once a day for every other day or every couple days or whatever it was. And then there's the 24-hour dialysis where you're constantly hooked up to a machine. So they had her on the 24-hour dialysis where she's constantly hooked up to this machine where it's running all of the time.
Yeah.
And the nurse specifically told me that there's a little filter in there that it's filtering the blood. And there's this little filter. And normally what she said is that she's used to changing this filter. She's used to changing this filter every 12 to 24 hours. She doesn't change it very often. But with my mom, she was changing it like every couple hours.
Damn.
That's how bad her blood was. That's how bad things got with her that they had to change this filter every couple hours.
That she neglected her symptoms, which is, again, hindsight, how sleepy she was, how cold she was for like those 2 to 3 weeks. And unfortunately, we only saw her, three times a week or so, there. So it's like, there's that guilt that lies in us where it's like, man, we should have spoke up. We should have said something.
But I also think too, at that point, it might have already been too late. Like, like that's kind of like, that's the little, I don't know. I feel like it.
Well, and we considered moving her hospitals too, but then that would be an issue in itself if she's already so bad.
She's already not stable.
Yeah, she's not stable.
So I get that news, and this is like coming into Friday. And so he's showing me her heart. Her heart's it's not where it needs to be. The valves, whatever. And basically he's just like, I guess in no other words that I can't think of that he like literally said to me, but like, it's like a lost cause. And so I'm like, okay, like, what do we do from here? Like, how do we figure this out? And so they decide to call a cardiologist, a heart doctor, call the cardiologist. So we're there Friday. My sister, I don't even remember who else was there, but I remember my sister being there. So they're calling the doctor, and they page the doctor, and the nurse was telling me that the doctor that they wanted to page is not on call. So they paged a different doctor. And this is what made me go like, holy fuck, how serious it was. Because she paged the doctor, and then she comes back in and she goes, you know what? This doctor just scrubbed into surgery. I don't know, when they'll be here.
Yeah. We don't know when she's going to show up.
I swear to God, 10 minutes later, this doctor was there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, holy fuck, this is really this serious that this doctor scrubbed out of surgery to show up to look at this. So I remember walking out of the room, and the doctor so they have like pods, like they're in their own room or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so the nurse is right in between the two rooms that she's nursed for.
Yeah.
So the cardiologist is sitting at the station, and then comes into the room, and we're all there, and I don't even remember who was all in there. Like I know that I just remember just hearing the doctor, and basically the doctor was like, if we do the surgery, your mom's gonna die. She's like, I've never seen numbers this high. So basically what this doctor liked to do is not see the patient, not talk to the family. She looks at the numbers. These are the stats. This is what the percentage is if I do the surgery. Like, I'm going in blind. I'm just looking at numbers.
Yeah.
And based off of her numbers, my mom had an 80% chance of dying on that table. And so she came in that room and said, I've never seen a number that high.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy fuck. Okay. You do the surgery, my mom dies.
Yeah.
You don't do the surgery, my mom dies. And she's like,
if it's my family member, like, I don't recommend it. And
that's what she said.
And we don't want to think this way. It's like, it's a surgeon and they get paid to do surgeries, right?
But she was so transparent in that statement where she said, if this was my family member, I would decline the surgery.
On somebody that gets paid to do surgery. So she could have easily gone in there and said, hey, this is another job, we'll do the surgery and let's just hope it works out. Because when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You're a surgeon. Oh, you need surgery. The cure for everything is, I need to operate on you. You need to get in surgery. But she came in and just leveled.
For real.
And was just like, I haven't seen it this bad.
Talking to my sister, talking to everybody else, it's almost like she's going to die either way. So do I want her to be sedated and die in a operating room by herself? Or do I want her to be surrounded by people that love her and just let her go? So I was like, okay. And at that point, when she told me that, I was like, I've already made my decision. Let's talk to everybody else. You've
kind of been working yourself up for the last 2 weeks, like seeing it. You saw her, just about every day.
And decline. And, I'm trying to understand everything that's been done. And then so I'm talking to the ICU nurse, and she ended up bringing to my attention that my mom had little marks on her fingers and on her toes. And I'm like, okay, what is that? So it turns out it's called septic emboli. So basically she has these little blood clots like kind of floating around, and they like break apart.
That's why she had the multiple strokes.
And so it travels. They travel through. So obviously they can't go farther than your extremity. So they stick. And so they look like almost like little moles on your fingers and on your toes. And so she made it more to me when she said that if they're traveling downwards and outwards, they're going up. And who knows what would happen? Like, what kind of person she would be if she was even able to come out of
quality of life.
Yeah. What would happen? Yeah. So we made, and she also said, cause my sister and I talked, and okay, Monday, this was Friday. Okay, Monday, let's do it Monday. We'll get everybody that we need to get here, and let's do it Monday. And the nurse was like, nah, like, she isn't going to make it to Monday. Yeah. Like, you got to do this now. And I'm like, okay. And I was so scared to leave the hospital that day, because I'm like, my worst fear is that something's going to happen when I'm not there. And I miss it. Like, I'm not there. So.
And that Friday is our son's birthday.
Right. That Friday was Micah's birthday.
Yeah.
He turned 3, and we did our best to make it like good for him, because it's like, I'm so sorry. Like, we're in this moment, and it was good, but then also pissed me off at the same time. We get to the house, and we have like a little cupcakes or whatever for him.
We get to your mom's house.
Yeah, we get to my mom's house, and of course there's fucking presents for him for his birthday. She bought shit for him in the beginning of the month or whenever. She bought shit, and there's clothes, and there's presents, and I'm just like, it makes it worse because I know what's gonna happen. And then I remember, because I don't know if you took the video or whatever, but I pull out the thing in the gift bag, and I swear it's like a 300 piece fucking dinosaur set, like little baby dinosaurs, big dinosaurs, and trees. And I'm like, of course my mom would buy him something like ridiculous that I'm like, fuck no, I don't want this shit all over my floor. It's gonna end up under my couch and it's gonna end up everywhere. I don't want it. But then I'm just like, of course, like, yes, like, okay. So we try to have some sort of decent birthday for him. So we already got like, kind of noticed that like, it's gotta be like now. So we gather everybody together, we make the decisions that we need to make, and we're like, cool. So we leave, and I'm not sure who stayed over that Friday night at the hospital or who stayed that Thursday night. I'm pretty sure it might have been some of my cousins that had stayed over. But we left and wake up the next morning kind of, because we had Micah's thing. So we wake up kind of knowing what's going on. Like this is the plan. So we stopped by and we got donuts for the staff, and we
hey, sorry for the almost brawl and the
in the waiting room, and so my
barging in all the time.
Right. So when I handed them, I think we got like 3 dozen donuts. We got a lot. And so when I handed them to them, I was like, thank you so much in advance. You know, it was like, BT Dubs, we're Mexicans. There's going to be a lot of us. Like, we're going to be here all day. Like, here, hopefully this makes it better. Like, or helps out a little bit, you know, like it's early in the morning we get there. And it's a hospital and it's November. So it's kind of like prime RSV season, you know,
Yeah.
So luckily for us, they had allowed that our kids were able to see her.
Special circumstances. Yeah.
So, you know, here they are in their little masks going in there and like seeing her. And, you know, Micah's touching her arm and trying to touch her face and like, what's happening? Like, he's just turned 3. He has no fucking idea what's going on. And I would assume Avery doesn't either, you know, like, I don't know, like, okay, you know, like, whatever. So, you know, here they are, like, just visiting her and kind of, you know, talking to her and whatnot. And, like, we're, like, telling them, like, tell her that you love her. Mm-hmm. You know, like, whatever we can get them to say, you know, like, okay. So, it ended up being where it's the ICU, so you can only have 3 visitors at a time. So here I am, you know, I'm not trying to dictate or anything, but I'm trying to like create a system, because it's like, okay, this is when we're going to do it. We need to figure it out. Like, okay, because we don't know how long it's going to be. Like, we know nothing. So at that point, people start like pouring in. Like, there was so many people.
No, I want to say at one point there must have been like 40 people there.
And I was so grateful too that your parents came up, and your parents were able to take care of the kids so you could be there with me. So your parents had the kids here and watching them and doing, you know, everything that we needed to do while we were at the hospital. Like, and they came up on such short notice. Like, it was so like, okay, we need you here. Boom, we're on our way. Yeah. And bam, they were here, you know?
And little did we know that my dad would go septic and be intubated
like
2 months later.
Yeah. Like, it's just almost like it's insane to think that. Because
I remember when I got the phone call in the middle of the night and you're like, what happened? I'm like, yeah, you know, he's septic, he's this and that. And you were just like, you're having flashbacks of this moment. And you're just like, I don't know.
No,
you didn't say you didn't know. You're like, he's.
No, I told you, be prepared, because he's not going to come back from this. Yeah. Like, you need to prepare yourself. And that's me being like, because I wasn't prepared. And now I could less than or about 2 months help you be prepared for that. Like, just prepare yourself, because this is what's going to happen. And luckily for you, you got there in the right time to see him. So we had people in and out, and I'm trying to create a list. Like, okay, these three people, like okay, you get, however much time, like whatever. Like, I'm not, like, again, I'm not trying to be a dictator, but I'm also trying to
You're
create
trying to
a
be
system.
fair. You're trying to be fair to everybody.
And so people are showing up and I'm like, okay, cool. And then at some point I had to cut it off. Okay, like, I'm sorry, whoever shows up after this, like, we don't have, like, I'm trying my best to get people in, and that caused problems. And just like, I just felt like I never did anything right when I'm trying to do right by her only. I'm trying to make sure that what she needs is what gets done, and not in a mean way, but I don't give a fuck about anybody else, because all I care about is her.
And that's what she signed you up for.
So I'm just trying to be fair to everybody. And I'm trying to be this person who is making decisions and who's thinking about all of these things, who's trying to, like, I guess, put on a front that I got this, I'm okay, but I'm not okay. And it's like, people were there and, hugs and, oh my God, I'm so sorry and whatever, but I don't, like, I'm literally running around I'm there, I'm here, I'm all places, and then I'm worried about my kids, like, how are my kids doing? And then I'm just like, I'm trying to figure it out. And clearly there's no figuring it out. There's no figuring that out. So everybody came and saw her, and, we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to be like, okay, well, when are we going to do this? And so we're like, okay, we're going to do it now. So then everybody had to come out, and then they go ahead and, take everything off. They take her off the machines. They, take the intubation out. They do everything. And they were like, it could be quick. It could not be quick. Like, we don't know. Like, everybody's different.
Yeah.
So we're all in there, and like, everybody, like, all my cousins, my tias, like, we're all in there. You're in there, like, everybody. We're all crying. We're all, we're have music on. We're just trying to make it like her. Like, that's what she would want. She wants this worship music, like her church stuff, like, whatever. So we have all that on, and that was like, I think we took the tubes out around 3-ish, maybe 3:30. It was before 4. 3, and this was a Saturday. 3:30-ish. And we're like, we don't have any idea on what's going to happen. Heart rate was still good. Everything was fine. And, we're all in and out. We're in and out, going, taking a break or getting a snack or, like, whatever, just kind of chilling.
Especially, I think we were all there for like an hour and 15 minutes after, because we were thinking it would probably happen like shortly after. You think the tubes are keeping her alive, like,
yeah,
as soon as it comes out. And I want to say it was like at least an hour and 15, and she was still fighting for whatever reason. And then that's when we kind of allowed more people to kind of cycle in and out, and, everybody can go get some rest.
Yeah.
Take a break from, being in that room. It's a good place to be around family, and you're trying to be there for her, but it's taxing on, your emotional psyche. Yeah.
So we had that for a few hours, and everybody in and out. We were talking, kind of, just like, kind of being in the moment, just being there. We were able to share, and I feel terrible for not remembering who did it, but bracelets, purple bracelets for all of us.
That might have been Crystal.
And we all took a picture.
Crystal, April.
We all took a picture, and it's like all of us got one, like, just little things. And it's just like being able to just be there with everybody, hugging and crying and just being like, like, we just miss her already. Like, like, it's just like,
yeah, it's been,
she's not even gone. But it's like,
but I mean, she's been hospitalized for 2 weeks, and that's an eternity for someone that you relied on. Like, some people relied on her daily, like your cousin Adri. For sure. Your sister.
Like, my niece and nephew would always say that my mom cooked better than my sister. Like, they would want Nana to cook them something, not my sister, And so it's just like, I'm here trying to, like, kind of,
wear so many hats. Like I'm just trying to do everything, and it's like you can't do it all. So it got to the point where it's like, okay, people felt comfortable kind of leaving because we're good. Our heart rate's still good. We're, and then like we got kind of towards the end of the night, and where she was a fighter. Like she just fought.
Well, there was 2 points. There was 2 points where, her eyes were open.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily that she was. We don't know how like much information she was actually taking, but there was 2 points that stood out to me when it felt like she was like kind of like snapped in, and that was the first one. I think was you were talking to her about your cousin Sabrina, on how she was having a kid. I don't know when was her. Was it a boy or a girl?
She had a girl.
When was she born in relation?
That same day.
Yeah. So literally, I think you had relayed the information to her, saying, "Hey, Sabrina had the boy, right?
No,
the girl. Sorry,
Emery
had Emery, and she was like, it felt like she acknowledged that, like she looked over in your direction where your voice was coming from, and that was like, whoa. And then the second time it happened was when her pastor of 20 years,
forever,
came in, and who has a powerful voice, obviously, but it was he just walked right in, grabbed her hand. He's like, Nancy, it's what's his name again?
Pastor Gould.
What's his first name? I think he might have said Anthony. Yeah, it's Anthony Gould. I'm not sure. Maybe he might have said Pastor Gould, or
it's Pastor.
Yeah,
so is she?
It's Pastor, and she turned and like looked at him. I was like, wow, like because she listened to his voice, for every sermon. Like her God's message came through him. So it was like when she heard that voice, like immediately just turned in that direction. So it's like, even though people can't, communicate with us anymore like that, it's like they are still, taking in that information.
Yeah.
So like that was a couple of intense moments, in that room.
And it was, and I would say yes, super intense, but it was also kind of creepy for me too. Like I'm like, why are your eyes open? Like. Like,
of course,
like, I'm just like, cause I'm right in her face, like I'm holding her hand and stuff like that. And so it's just like, we kind of just watched it, like, like, and I don't know however many people that are listening to this have actually watched somebody die, like like you don't really know how to explain it unless you're in it, unless you're doing it, unless you experience that, like to watch 5 hours of this, like, that's a long time. Mm-hmm. So it's like in and out and just here and there and just kind of figuring it out and, just like whatever. So finally we get to the point where, shit starts to decline a little bit. Heart rate starts to slow down, oxygen levels, like everything just starts to just decline. And it's like, okay, like we're now we're in it. Like it's for real now. Like now we're getting to the end. And so we get to a point where the hospital has shift change, and the hospital has a shift change at 7:30, mm-hmm. and it's an hour, 7:30 to 8:30. And when you're in shift change, the nurses, doctors, whatever, they kind of do their rounds. So they're standing outside of the rooms, they're talking to each other. Okay, this, like they're
it's
just
a handoff.
Yeah, they're just updating and they're kind of figuring it out. So either you're in or you're out. You leave the room and you don't come back for an hour, or you're in the room and you don't come out for an hour. Yeah. It's one or the other. So at that point, I guess everybody kind of thought like, oh, we're good. Like everybody's hungry. Everybody's grumpy. Like we're tired. We're hungry. We're emotionally drained, like everything. So more than half of the room leaves at shift change. They're like, okay, cool. We're going to order some pizza. We're going to have dinner. We're cool. So, of course, I stay. My sister stays. My mom's pastor and his wife stayed. And then my mom's Theo stayed. My mom's oldest Theo stayed. He's like, 89, 90 something years old?
Outliving everybody.
He stayed. So he's my mom. He's my mom's mom's brother. Yeah. Stayed. Theo Chilo. Anyways, he stayed. So there's 5 of us in the room. So once everybody leaves, we kind of dim the lights a little bit more. We turn on the computer. The nurse had allowed us to use the computer to play like just the melodies, no lyrics, just the melodies. So we played just the music, and we're just kind of like, we're just there. We're quiet. And then it goes down and down and down and down, and then we get to the point where she like, like again. Who's ever, or I don't know if anybody has ever watched somebody die, but like those breaths that they take, they take the breath and then it takes forever for another one to come, and you're like, okay, like we're getting close. And so then she takes a breath, and then like, I swear it was like 5 minutes, probably, obviously not that long, and then another one, and then she takes another one. And then it's like, oh my God, this is it. And like, I stand up because I'm like, I'm watching, like I'm like glued to her face. Like, I'm like, I want to hear it. I want to see it. And then like, she takes another one. And then like, nothing came after that. So then after she took that one last breath, I kid you not, a tear came from her eye. And her pastor was like, do you see that? Like, did you see that? And I'm like, yes. And then that's when I lost my shit, because I'm like, I'm not ready. No, like, don't go. Like, I'm not ready. But she was, like she was ready to go. And so that tear falls down from her eyes, and like we say our goodbyes. We're crying, and I hug my sister, and we're like, we got this. You got me. I got you. We'll be okay. And so I then, because mind you, shift changes from 7:30 to 8:30.
Yeah, hold on, but you equate that tear to what?
Huh?
What do you equate that tear to?
I'll tell you. So I know I totally bypassed that, huh? So that tear that came down, I'm not religious at all. Like, I don't go to church. I don't like, that's not my thing, but it's been hers for the last 20 years of my life. So when I saw that tear and I'm losing my shit, I felt just a little bit more at peace, knowing that that's a tear of joy. That's a tear of joy. Because she finally met the God that she's been praying to, that she's been praising, that she's been singing to, that she's been worshiping every single day for 20 years. She finally met him. Her, whatever. She finally met her God. But not only that, she finally saw her mom again. And she saw her dad. That's what that tear meant. That was a tear of joy. That meant a lot. So I had to then go out. Again, I say the shift change 7:30 to 8:30. My mom took her last breath at 8:25. And that was before everyone else was going to come in, because she didn't want anybody else. Not that she chose us or whatever. We just chose to stay in there. But I don't think that she didn't want anybody else to see her take her last breaths. Like, she didn't want that. So I went out there, and everybody's eating pizza, like they're all just chilling out there,
Yeah,
just like,
I'm on my way because I
like,
talked to you. I put the kids down
10 minutes before.
Yeah, I'm talking to you. She's like, yeah, she's declining. She's declining, but she'll probably be steady until you get here. And by the time I get there, like, I was already on the road, and by the time I get there, she perished.
So I go out there, and everyone, like, I'm like the only one. Like, I walk out there, and everyone turns around and looks at me, and they're just like, what happened? And I'm like, I just kind of just shake my head, and I'm just like, she's gone. And then like everyone comes up and they hug me and it's just like whatever. So then we all kind of go in there and we just say our goodbyes, we talk or whatever. And I had to make the arrangements with the funeral home, and which I hadn't done before because I didn't even, that was not even something that I thought of. Nope. So I had to do that, and people are coming in and saying their goodbyes, like it's just kind of like they allowed us to stay as long as we needed, like the hospital was great with us. And one of the things that I remember, which is why I say that, is because the nurse, she pulled me aside a little bit, obviously before my mom actually died. She pulled me aside and she handed me like a bunch of vials, like blood vials. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but inside the blood vials were what is it called?
Heartbeat.
Yeah, her heartbeat. Well, I don't know what the terminology is, but like the echocardiogram or like whatever the word is. The her actual heartbeat, which is what I ended up getting tattooed on me. Like it's her actual heartbeat before it declined. Like she did that, didn't ask for it. I didn't, like she just saw how much we were hurting. And like, that was just one thing that just meant more to me, was I was like, wow, thank you so much. Like for giving this to us. So we all go in, we say our goodbyes and whatnot. And then, it wasn't that night. It might've been the night before. I actually want to take this back to the night before. On Friday, we come home after Micah's birthday, and we're trying to explain to our kids that Nana won't be here no more. So I love this movie, but I also kind of hate this movie. We put on Coco, and so it has so much more meaning for a few reasons. One, because it's our culture. It's what, like we're Mexican, they're Mexican. It's, like just the things that they do or say, whatever, like that's us. Us not meaning me and you, but like us as a whole. So we're trying to explain to them. And so we put on Coco, and it's like, while we're trying to like speak adult languages to them, like what's happening. And then one thing that I do remember is Micah wanted to open that like 300-piece dinosaur set, and I was like, fuck no, like I'm not cleaning that up, like no, you're not opening that. But then that night I was just like, do it, make a mess, put dinosaurs everywhere, like I don't care, like my mom got up, do it, whatever, I don't give a shit.
Not only that, but it was like a 4-foot dinosaur too that she bought.
That was Christmas.
Oh, that was Christmas?
Yeah. So we watched Coco, and it gets to the end where Mama Coco dies, and she literally is the definition of what my mom experienced. She dies, and she's reunited with her mom and dad, and they cross over on Dia de los Muertos, and they're coming over and they're visiting and they're having a good time. Like that's what we try to explain. Like, yeah, she's not here, but she's here. So that was Friday night, and then Saturday we had all that stuff, because when we got here Saturday night, they were already asleep. So we did all that, and then my mom, it was difficult to leave. Like I did not want to leave the hospital, like to leave her. I didn't want to leave her. Like I didn't want somebody to just like, I didn't want her to be around people that didn't know her. Like I wanted to follow. I wanted to be there for every moment of whatever it was that they were going to do. Like I wanted to just be there, but I know that I couldn't. I knew that I couldn't. So they take her, and we come home, and I think I came home with like extra pizza and stuff too. Like I came home with a bunch of stuff. And Sunday, my family ends up getting together the day after, and because we're talking about like what we're gonna do with service and all kinds of stuff. Like we're just kind of ironing out details, just like kind of figuring it out. And we got it all taken care of, or for the most part, kind of an idea, I guess, of things that are going to happen. And then I don't even know what happened after that. What, it just jumped to service. Like, there's so many things happen.
Just planning. Well, your mom touched so many people that it was a community that helped us put it together. So yeah, planning the services. Like, your mom was not only the matriarch of the family, like the one everybody went to, she was a big member of her, community, of her parish. She was the front office,
Administrative
assistant, like the go-to person at her charter school.
She also worked at Salvation Army.
Yeah. Salvation
Army. And then I don't know if it had changed names prior to her leaving, but my mom, everybody in Mesa knew my mom. Mm-hmm. She just like me, she's looked the same for a gajillion years. You went to her for help and she helped you. Like, everybody knew my mom. So my mom had a big influence on families. The charter school that she worked at, more than half, 90% of the kids are immigrant children, where they only speak Spanish. The parents only speak Spanish. So my mom was their only form of communication, because she wrote it, she read it, she talked, she spoke. So she did a lot, and she influenced a lot of lives, and she was there when you needed her. When someone called her in the middle of the night, boom, done. Like, I got you. If you need a couch to sleep on, boom, you got mine. Like, don't worry about it. Like, she would feed you the last thing that she had in her refrigerator, or give you the shirt on her back. Like, that's what she would do. That's who she was. She was the definition of strength and family oriented, and like just strong in her faith. Like, that was just her. Like, she just exuded her faith. Like, you know, she's just trying to live right. And so yeah, that like a couple weeks was just handling everything, making plans, like, like whatever. So we had our service, and it was such a beautiful service, and I gave her eulogy, which you helped me write. Like, gave her eulogy, which was probably like the hardest thing that I had to do. Like, I'm saying all these things about her and crying and in front of all these people.
You did awesome.
Like, it's difficult, and then the one thing that I remember about that, well, I remember a lot of things about the service, but I bought this purple dress to wear to the service, because I had told people when I had Facebook at the time to wear purple. That was her color. Purple was her color.
Everything was purple.
So I told people when and where and whatever, and I said, wear purple. So I bought this nice purple dress to wear, and like, like I'm going to the service. I curled my hair, like I'm ready. And then when we get to the reception, not only am I running around with like serving people, like I was serving people menudo and street tacos, because those were two of my mom's favorite food, was menudo and street tacos. So those were the foods that we had at the service. Mm-hmm. But I had gotten up on stage because we did it at her work, where she worked in the cafeteria, because she worked at a school. So we did that. And so there wasn't a lot of room. So people were staying at the tables and not clearing it for more people to come in. So I had to get up on the stage, and there was no microphone, but I had to be like, excuse me, like, when you're done eating, kind of go, like, bye. Like, we need room for people to come in. And I remember walking down the stairs, and I'm like, did I put lotion on this morning? Why are my legs so ashy? Like, I remember thinking that, like, because I'm wearing a dress. So then I'm like, why are my legs so ashy? Like, I remember that. But I was running around serving people, running around in heels, mind you. I was wearing heels. So I'm running around in heels, serving people. We had music going. Like, the service turned out great, and the reception turned out great. Like, the food was good. We celebrated. And then after that, we went to the park, right?
Yeah, we did.
We went to the park because I remember...
Just family.
Yeah, just family at the park, because I remember stopping at McDonald's to get the kids Happy Meals, and they fell asleep. And I remember sitting in the car because I changed out of my dress to a purple shirt and jeans. We go to the park. We have a balloon release, and we're just having a good time. Like, what we would have done on a normal Saturday or a normal Sunday, you know, except my mom is missing. And it was just like, it was good. And we've had a lot of those, and it's just, we love those, and my family just keeps those going. But that was towards the middle of December now at that point.
December 15th.
And then December 15th. And then we show up at Christmas, and it literally looked like fucking Christmas threw up in my living room. My mom went Christmas shopping for all of the grandkids way before she went into the hospital. Like, I don't even know. So we're talking about beginning of February.
That's what nanas do.
We're talking about, beginning of November. My mom had gone Christmas shopping for all the fucking kids. Everybody. She was just like, cool. It's all in the closets, and like it's everywhere. Like, she went shopping for everybody. Yeah. So when we had my very first Christmas, you know, obviously shortly after she passed away, as a motherless daughter, I'm over here like, Christmas threw up in my house. I have a tree, and like, you can't even see anything because there's so much stuff. And you had brought up, she got Micah this like 4-foot dinosaur, like this ginormous T-Rex, like where you put stuff in his mouth and you can open his belly and stuff falls out. Like, she got him this ginormous dinosaur, and it's been a year and a half, and I can't get rid of it. Like, I don't want to get rid of it, because like, that was one of the last, like, I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me, Mom? Like, for real? Like, for real? Like, but she bought them so much stuff, and I'm just like, oh my God, like it, yeah, like, I can't, like, I truly can't believe that she did that. And it's almost like, did she know? You know, like, why would you do all of your shopping before the middle of November? Like,
that's what nanas do.
Right? Like, they just do that. So, but she did that. So we got through that. Our first, like, everything that first year was just a fucking nightmare. Like, cause it's your first Christmas without your mom. It's your first New Year without your mom. It's your first everything without your mom. Like, my birthday last year, like, I was so sad all day, because I'm like, it's my first birthday without my mom. Like, my mom couldn't post about me. And the year previously, I had to send her a new picture to post, because she'd always post this stupid photo of me where you saw like my 3 chins, and I didn't like it. So I'm like, Mom, if you're gonna post this new one. Like, give me a different picture. So yeah, I don't. But what you were talking about earlier, if you wanna, I follow this page, and they post a lot to Love What Matters.
It's the name of this whole series that I've named it this because of that. Yeah. That's what inspired you to do all this.
And it's because this isn't only just about grief. It's not about grief, because I have gone through 2 major losses in my life. Like, the biggest losses that you could ever imagine. I lost a spouse, and I lost a parent. Like, other than losing a child, like that, like, I've lost 2 big people. But this isn't about that. This is about, if someone just listens to me, and it's like, you know what? She's living outside of the lines. She could do this. So can I. This is what she's going through. Oh yeah, I got this then. Like, you know, like, I'm not popular, you know, like, you know, I'm just a normal fucking human being who's trying to live life without a mom. And it is so fucking hard to raise kids. It's so hard to be a mom without a mom. Like, I hate the term motherless daughter, but I use it because it makes sense. And it's just very difficult to, when I have questions, I want to call my mom. When I am worried, I want to call my mom. And I can't, you know, like, I can't. So then it's like, well, what the fuck, you know, like, of course I have other people that I could call, and talk to, but it's like, but I want my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I just want my mom.
Yeah, you can hear some information from somebody, but your mom says the exact same thing that you said, and it just hits different.
Yeah. So this,
Pull it down a bit. Pull the mic down a bit.
oh, sorry. This, Level Up Matters. There's this specific person that I always end up reading her posts. And so again, levelupmatters.com, hashtag Level Up Matters on Instagram. The one that I go to the most is Grief to Hope. So it's again, hashtag Grief to Hope. On Facebook, it's called Grief to the number 2 Hope. And the writer, the author of a lot of the things that I read, her name is Nikki Pennington. Mm-hmm. And so she says a lot of things that I think that I don't know necessarily how to put on paper. But like the one that I had read, kind of spoke to me the most, because she said that, I'm trying to like figure out where I want to start. She says, and I'm going to read it. And again, this is from Nikki Pennington, I believe is what her name is. Let me double check. Yeah, Nikki Pennington, Grief to Hope. So check it out if you'd like. But basically where I'm going to start is, she said, it hurts because I know the kind of Nana she would have been if only she had been given the chance. I know the kind of memories she would have made with them and the laughs they would have shared together. And I know that she would have been front and center at all of their events and helping to plan their parties. I know that she wouldn't have to tell them about her hugs or her laughs, because that they would have known it firsthand themselves. I wouldn't have to answer the question, is Nana in heaven? Can she visit us? Instead, we could just pick up the phone and have her come over. I know she wouldn't just be a memory we would talk about, but someone they would know in real life. And she wouldn't miss a special event, and she would beg to watch them every chance she could. So I cried. I cried for them and her. For the Nana that they'll only know through stories and pictures and memories that I'll have to share with them. I cried in the truck. I cried getting out of the truck, and I cried down the aisle 5 at the grocery store. Because the truth is, sometimes that's just what grief does. It makes you cry. And it doesn't care who you are or where you are. And then I realized she was there at the party. She was there when I dropped them off for their first day at school. When I was scared, and they were too. She was there when I opened their Christmas presents and when they lost their first tooth. She was there when they asked if she could visit from heaven. She was there in those times in between. When they long for one hug from Nana, and when we tell them another story about how the distance from heaven to earth couldn't stop their Nana's love for them. Their Nana's love for them. She was there in aisle 5 when I was crying, wishing for just once they could have Nana on their birthday invitation list. Nana is always right wherever they are, because even though she's never got the chance to meet them, she had her kids after her mom died. That can't stop a grandma's love. So having a Nana there doesn't look like what we hoped or what we planned or thought it would be, but she's still there, because a Nana's love doesn't just go away when they do. Like this chick hits me in the feels every single time. Mm-hmm. Because it's everything that I thought of. Everything that I'm like, this is what I think, this is how I feel. She lost her mom like a long, long time ago. I think her mom had cancer way before, when she was younger, way before she had kids. So, I feel grateful that my mom had the opportunity to be there for me when I was pregnant, to see my kids, to be there. She was there when Avery was born. unfortunately she couldn't be there with Micah because she had to watch Avery. So it's like she couldn't be there.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just, the waters are rough when you're trying to navigate life without your captain. My mom was my captain, and I'm like trying to figure it out. I don't fucking know what to do. Like, I truly don't know, like, anything in life. Like, I almost feel like I'm just starting from scratch the second I lost my mom. Like, holy fuck. Like, who do I call now? Like, I don't know what the fuck to do, you know? Like, I'm just here trying to figure it out and just trying to be the best that I can, because she also had posted, like, I need to be the legacy that I hope that she was here to be. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be her legacy, to instill in my kids what she taught me, to be the person that people call in the middle of the night because they need something, to be, oh, you know what? Don't worry about it because Gabby's got you. Like, I need to be that person. I want to be that person. I'm doing my best to make myself a better person, to be like her. Because all she exuded was just greatness.
Yeah, she really did. She was loved and adored, and, you know, one of those treasures in life that you could just rely on, not necessarily rely on to fix your problems, but to be there and to listen and to be, you know, non-judgmental and just take it in, and you know, like, to have somebody on your side. Like, that's who she was.
Like, I never felt like she truly judged, you know, like she just listened, and she was like, okay, you know, like, let's figure it out. Like, let's kind of work through this. And it's just like, if I could be even half of the woman and the mom that she was, I know I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Because she was the greatest person that I've ever known. And it's like, I'm sure others could say the same, but because that's how great she was, that other people, not just her own family and children, other people could be like, yeah, she was the greatest person that I ever knew. You're doing something fucking right.
Yeah.
So if I could just have just half of that, then I'll be good. My kids will be fine. So now I just gotta I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know what I got to do, because it's like, I don't know. I guess I got to try to find, you know, which I have been searching for since December 1st, 2018, who Gabby is without her mom, you know, like, life changing. Like, you question everything in life when you lose everything.
Yeah. The person that centers you. Like,
I would call my mom when I was having a rough time or a bad day or a bad situation or whatever. I would call my mom, and clearly, you know, my attitude. So it's like, I call my mom and I'm yelling at her like as if she was the problem. I'm yelling at her and I'm like, what the fuck? Blah, blah. And, you know, my mom's all like, you know, oh my God, like, so pure, you know, she's just like, she hated when I cussed because, and like, you know, I cuss all the time. So she hated when I cussed, and I'm over here like, what the fuck, this and that, stupid bitch, blah, blah. And she'd be like, like, she just listens to my whole story. And then every time we talked, we'd always hang up the phone and be like, okay, love you, bye. Like, quick, you know, like, no, there's no, you know, like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you later. Okay, I love you. Okay, love you too. Bye. It's literally like, I'm on the phone and I'm like, okay, love you, bye. And I don't even wait for a response. I just say, okay, love you, bye. And I hang up. So that's what it would be like. So when I'm pissed off and I need somebody to vent to, I call her and I'm just like, blah, vomiting at the mouth, like whatever situation's going on. And then I would just hang up the phone. Like, No, I love you. No, okay, love you. Bye. Nothing. I would hang up the phone. And like not even a minute, 2 minutes later, like it literally starts eating at me. And I'm just like, I can't do that. So then I call her back and I'm just like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I can't love you. like that's how we talk, like all the time. Like when you talk about someone that centers you, like she centered me. She was just like, get your shit together. Not in those words, because like she never cussed, but it was like, figure it out. Like she knew me. So when like you think you know me, she knew me. Yeah. Like not necessarily maybe because, you know, I had talked about previously about me hiding my alcohol from her, but it's like she knows my personality. She knows me as a human, like how to get to me. She knows. So it's like, that's what she did. Like, she's just like, don't worry about it. Like, it's okay. Like, you can cry and you can yell and you can cuss at me, but at the end of the day, she knew that it wasn't at her. She knew that I'm just trying to get it all out, whatever. So it's like, for me to not have, like, I don't have that right now. Someone that I could just call and be like, what the fuck? Blah, blah. Yeah. And then be like, okay, bye. You know, like.
No, nobody else would be like, what the fuck is this person?
Because they're going to take it all personal and shit. And they're going to be like, what the fuck? She's having a bad day. You know, like, she's a bitch, you know, like, whatever. But it's like, it's not even that. Like, it's just like me having a rough time, you know, like me going through some bullshit or some customer yelled at me, you know, like, whatever. I don't fucking know. But. Or me talking shit about you to her. It's just like her trying to, you know, like, okay, well, what happened? You know, like level me. She's bringing me back to center. Yeah. Because I'm too left or I'm too right. And she's just bringing me back.
Yeah. I miss her because she always took my side.
Yeah. She always did take your side.
Yeah. Crazy ass.
Because she knew how crazy I was. So she was probably like, okay, if they're arguing about this, I'm pretty sure about 80% of the time he's right. And she has probably a little bit of reason to be upset.
Of course.
But
you always have reason.
But not as much as she's claiming. So of course she took your side. Like,
yeah,
she always did. But no, this is me trying to navigate life with my own family without my mom. Yeah. And trying to just figure out kind of how to do it. Like, I don't know. I got people, but it's still my own struggle because everyone had their own relationship with her. So you're missing that part of the type of relationship that you had with her, because obviously my relationship with her is different than yours. My relationship with her was different than my sister's, people even close to her. So it's just trying to figure it out. And, you know, obviously it's going to take years upon years upon years to be able to be comfortable with living a life without the person who I told every single day that she can't die. Like, you can't leave me. Like, but you know, her being there in my very first traumatic experience helped me understand death and grief and allow me to feel, I don't want to say okay, but kind of okay with dealing with her not being here.
Yeah.
She helped that. So
yeah, you did surprisingly well, like, because I always anticipated you just spiraling. Because you had mentioned so many times that, you know, you don't know what you would do, how you would act, what would be the repercussions of your mom passing away. So when it was happening, I was like very scared for what would go down, how it would go down. And I can't stress enough that I'm proud of how you've navigated those waters as hard as they are. And you've continued to be, you know, good and a good mother.
Well, thanks.
And a solid wife. Yeah, I just anticipated it being
a shit show.
Yeah, to say the least.
Because I've told you multiple times Because the May is a big month for me. May's a big month because you got my mom's birthday, you got her anniversary, when she married my dad, you got American Mother's Day, and then you also got Mexican Mother's Day in between there. Like, for the most part, it literally all lands in the same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So this last year, the very first year, you had her birthday. What was it, on a Friday? And then you had her anniversary, and then you had Mexican Mother. I think, did it land on the same day? It might have landed on the same day. Yeah, I don't know. But I know that it was all centered in the weekend. So I remember being like, yeah, I'm going to fucking be drunk this whole weekend. Like, because I don't want to feel. Because that's what happens. You drink or you do whatever it is that you're going to do because you don't want to feel. I didn't want to feel it because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is stupid. Like, I literally felt like this is fucking stupid. Like, I shouldn't have to be going to a fucking cemetery to release some fucking stupid balloons to celebrate my mom's life. I shouldn't have to do that. Like, this is dumb. But then obviously being in it, I'm like, this is not dumb. So it's like, it turned out fantastic. Like, it was really a good turnout. Like, it was beautiful, all that stuff. But my mindset was like, I shouldn't have to fucking do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is fucking stupid. I don't want to go to the fucking cemetery. So my mindset's like, I'm going to be drunk the whole fucking time because I don't want to feel it. But then talking to people and you and, like my mentors and like my bestest friends, it's like, you have to feel it though, because if you don't feel it, then it's just going to come around and it's just going to bite you in your ass however long later. So it's like, it's almost like I sat back and I was just like, okay, do I want to feel it now and be like, okay, this is terrible, or not feel it and be like, this is a fucking nightmare, like terrible nightmare, like, let's go ahead and weigh these options here. I'd rather go terrible than nightmare, like, I don't know how it's going to affect me, like here. So it's like, I did my best. And then of course, approaching her year anniversary, it's like, I'm trying to, figure it out while not going balls to the wall, because it's not only me. I'm not just thinking about me. I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about my sister. I'm thinking about my niece and nephew, who were a hell of a lot older than my kids when Nana died. I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about my dad, my tias and my tío and my cousins. I'm thinking about everybody. Like, it's the post that it's like, that one person who you feel is the strongest person. Ask them how they're doing. Like, that's all.
Check on your strong friends.
Check on your strong friends. Because your strong friends aren't always strong. And it's like, that's just me. Because I put on a face that I'm okay every single day. And I put on a front that everything is fine, like whatever. But it's not always.
Yep.
Because there are times when I go through the whole day. And then what happens when I come home? Boom. We end up crying on the couch.
I do know.
That's what I'm saying. We end up crying on the couch. So. But what's next for Gabby?
What's next?
I don't know. I don't know what's next for Gabby. But go ahead and bring this to an end, sir.
It could go anywhere. Anywhere you want. As long as you're living to make your mama proud, which she would already be. But you just continue to build off of it. Yeah. That's all we can do.
But who's ever, as far as my family, people that I know, you have showed up when you needed to, and I appreciate and love all of you, every single one of you. And yeah.
Good to send shout outs.
Because I'm sure they'll listen. They've listened to them so far. Yeah. So I just appreciate, I didn't say that right. Appreciate the support, the acknowledgement, the, We've all had our struggles. We all miss her a different way. We all appreciated her in a different way. And clearly I'm not the only one who misses her. So it's like, for people to show their support and understanding is what I'm also looking at. Understanding of the circumstances, what had gone on, where we're at, where everybody is, you know. It's just like, my family is, I couldn't imagine it being anything different than what it is. Like, when you talk about people being close, that's my family. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And we, like I had said before, like, ride or die. That's my family.
For sure.
So, yeah, that's us. There's too many like names. So it's like, I don't want to go that far, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. They can all comment.
We got y'all.
Well,
that was rough.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Like, that's intense. That's the most, vulnerable and most, that's the scariest part of your life that you had to go through. Most trying. And thank you for sharing that. I hope people take something from it.
It's you can get through anything that you actually try. You focus on and get out. You can get through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how tough the situation is.
Yeah, you just got to keep persevering, and you'll get there.
Yep. Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, y'all.
Part 3. All right, guys.
Sorry for all the tissues that y'all might need. Okay, bye.
Bye.